All right, my book came yesterday, Gridiron, Dice and Tries by Del Branham. This is the paperback color, 8.5 by 11. This is my cover. Del sells, of course, a color, a different cover, and he also sells a hardback collector's edition. The game is color in lots of ways, lots of color. You got art. We got these boxes which kind of tell you or remind you of rules. Everything's got a header and it looks brilliant. Very nice. Champion. There's our write-up. So the game consists of these teaching blocks. So start here, and it kind of, this is the table of contents. Start here, and it tells you where the stuff's at, what page it's on, what you use it for. And then, of course, again, he has a highlight of what's important. Quick start, play tonight. So again, to teach the game, everything is broken down. So the setup would be use New York and Pottsville early era. So we're going to go to, we're going to have New York and Pottsville. These are the pre-made teams from the fictional league in the fictional world of early pro football, at least early era. We're going to use the early era chart. So let's go EE, right? We're going to need 3 different color six-sided dice. Got those right here. A drive log, that's going to be right here. Field position marker. I'm not certain why we need a field position marker. Anyway, the New York will receive the ball at field position marker 0. Mark both pregame drive edge columns. So it'll walk you through step by step how you play the game, right? Highlight one rule: roll, read, resolve, mark, move on. That's the game. Roll, read, resolve, mark, move on. Okay. First game boundary and common mistakes. These are the things you do, and this is the way you correct it and what you do not do. Right. So don't do this thing. Right. This game is very simple when you get playing it, etc. But ironically, there are these things that you might be tempted to do that would actually break the, in a way, break the game, so to speak. All right, first game. So again, we have how to use this book. There's layers: your first game, your first season, your standard dynasty, your heavy dynasty, and your advanced play. And then, of course, what's active if you're going to play a first game, what you need to have if you're playing the advanced, what's active. So all the things that are active. And then, of course, what to leave out if you're not playing these other systems. Module permission and timing. This has got to be Dell's most officious book he's ever written. Dell's famous for not wanting to tell people how to play. That's been Dell's pet peeve is wanting to write rules. Not wanting to write rules, but wanting to tell people how to do a thing. Well, in role playing. But in tabletop board games and things, Dell definitely wants to make sure people understand how to play. This is his most, he is most officious here. He's most determined, formal. Formal may be the better word. I don't know how to say it. In how the game works, what pieces of it work together, and why you want to do some things and not do other things. So these little things are really, in a way, guides for what you're trying to do and what you can do and what you really shouldn't do. So learn the game, chapter 1. So we have our offensive die. I'll be using white for that. Defensive die, I'll be using red for that. And then this will be my what's called our fast die charts. And you don't always need the fast die, but when you do, you will never re-roll it. So no matter what you're looking at, if I roll a 4 fast die and I need to check a chart, that's 4 fast dies the result. And if for some reason there's some other check, you still use that. So you never re-roll the dice, right? So there should be in these big yellow box, never re-roll the dice. Okay. So he's got us laid out here for this quick start. Offense die, defense die, fast die. We got New York and our offensive. So we need to get our edges pre-game. So New York has an offensive 0, and Pottsville has a defensive 0. So the edge is even. So New York's edge this today is even. That will never change. So once you write the edges down, you don't need to check. You don't need to do it again. Pottsville is +1, but the New York defense is +1. That's even. So guess what? Pottsville. This is going to be easy to do because both are even. So those both neither team has an edge. They're both even. Okay. All right. So let's come back over here, and we got their field goal rating, their punt rating, their cover rating, their return ratings, their ball security ratings, and their takeaway ratings. Okay, we'll worry about those in a little bit. Let's get on to our first example. So again, how the game works, very simply, you roll the dice, and you're going to be looking at the offensive die and the defensive die. That's 0, and we're going to be checking 0 on the drive chart. And the drive chart is early era drive chart. Let's go find that. All right, so the first drive of the game, we're going to go FP0. So this will be first drive. And let's go ahead and roll for the hell of it. Kickoff will be even. It's going to be Pottsville. So Pot will get the ball first. So Potts, field position 0. Which means if it's a negative, you would subtract it from that, right, from that edge. So earlier charts are 0, even for Pottsville. 0 is punt. That's it. We're done. We put down a punt, right? And 2 is going to be New York. New York's FPO 0, and they receive the punt. New York's also using the even chart. That's going to be a -2. -2 says punt. 3, Pottsville, also FPO 0 because there's been no big punt or no poor punt. And we're going to be looking at -1. That's going to be a punt. It's old school. So we're looking at a close game right now. New York. So we are almost done with the first quarter. New York's next drive is -2, punt, FPO, or FP0 is another punt. Man, first quarter here, crazy. Pottsville wrapping up the first quarter. Again, no bonus for field position. And finally, +2 for them is going to be PD. So let's go over and look up PD. PD is, where's PD? What do you call it? Productive drive. Sorry, my mind just stopped dead right there. There's my productive drive chart. Productive drive. Must be 1 over. Productive drive. And I rolled a 5 on the fast drive chart. So productive drive. Well, hell. Productive. Oh, here it is. Productive drive. I rolled a 5 on the fast die, and it tells you here fast die, 5. By the way, that's Pottsville, so let's go back to their ratings, because Pottsville's ratings dictate what happens on this drive. So here's where the ratings come into play. We're looking at productive drive, our fast drive. Pottsville's FG is 0. So for field goal, 0. I rolled a 5. Missed a long field goal, so they miss a long field goal. Folks, first quarter's in the books. It's New York 0, Pottsville 0. Second quarter starts. It's going to be New York. And because we missed a long field goal, I don't believe that changes our field position, FP. I don't think it changes our field. Where is it at here? That's range. Fast die. Where is it? Missed long field goal. Nope. Okay, so our FPO, or our F field position stays 0. All right, there we go. Let's go back to our charts. And for those who are going, geez, it's going to be clumsy back and forth. No. These are the game rules. There's actual charts in the back of the book that are easier to reference. But again, right now I'm just using the rules just in case we need to reference something. All right, here we go. New York. It's going to be a -2 for New York. They're going to be forced to punt again. Pottsville. Right now, this looks like old school 1927's football, doesn't it? We're going to get +3. Uh-oh, Pottsville's going to turn it on. Field goal range, 5 again. So field goal, we know for them is 0. So we're in field goal range. Let's find that chart. Field goal range. Here we go. So field goal range. We're at 0. I rolled a 5. Made. All right. So we march into field goal range. And we get a field goal. Outstanding. So Pottsville finally breaks the stranglehold of New York's defense and pulls out a field goal. And we're going to get 0, which is a punt for New York. Poor New York. Number 9, Pottsville. So Pottsville's chance now to start adding to their lead. It will be +2. +2 is productive drive 6. Well, let's hope the productive drive this time is good one. Productive drive 6. He's a 0 made a long field goal. So now they bash through. Long field goal. Hot damn. 6-0, 10. New York. What will they do? Remember, most of Dell's games like this, what's called drive margin concept, right? We're looking at the difference between dice, 0, 4, and of course that means that there's a curve here, right? For those who don't know, when you match up two six-sided die, it produces a range of numbers which are on a curve, right? 6, 7, and 8 are the most common. Well, guess what? When you do a dice margin game, it's creating a curve as well. How often are they going to be in the middle, right? Just like rolling and adding this up. 6, well, 6 would be right in the middle, and 3 and 3, of course, 0 punt. So there's no magic here. It's just normal dice probabilities, right? Okay. It creates, instead of a 2 to 12 number, it's creating a range of numbers, which can be modified and things like that too, of course. All right, final drive in the first half, and Pottsville's up 6-0. Let's see if Pottsville can add to their lead before halftime. No. But wait, +4. They sure will. +4 is red zone 3. And again, we look at this drive for red zone. Hot damn, red zone 3 is a touchdown. Opponent starts at their normal field position. So we're going to get a TD. And I don't have my cards or anything. We're going to call it a touchdown run back in the day. Touchdown run. PAT. And folks, Pottsville now in the second quarter has scored 3-6-13. Pottsville Marauders up 13-0 first half. All right, second half, New York will get the ball. FP0. And of course, obviously it was the end of the half, so that FP0 would not matter. You would start with a kickoff. If you're using the advanced rules, there's kickoffs, right? All right, can New York make a comeback? This ought to be epic. To be honest, they very well could, because both teams are even. All right, Pottsville Marauders fans here at their house are on their feet roaring. Pottsville, the defending champions, putting New York in their place. New York gets the ball to start the second half. And it's going to be +2. +2 is a productive drive of 5 for New York. What is New York's field goal rating? Productive drive. So they drive down. It's productive if New York's got the field goal kicker. New York's field goal kicker is also a 0. So we're looking at 5. I believe that's a missed field goal on 0. It is. So they're going to miss a field goal. But at least New York got close enough to try. Pottsville with a 2-possession lead, 3-possession lead really, is going to be -2. -2 is a punt. And again, 0s are field position on those, New York, because we haven't had a bad punt or anything yet. Early era, New York goes to work. Their field position is 0, and New York's going to get +1. +1 is no man's land. We're going to finally get to see no man's land. All right, no man's land is in the old school. That's back in the day. Are you in a position to really kick the field goal? So no man's land 5. They're going to do a pinning punt. The opponent is pinned deep. They start at -1. So no man's land, FP -1. So guess what? Pottsville now starts this drive at -1. So they get into no man's land. Too far to really punt. Too far to kick a field goal. Too close to really punt. But they're not about to go for it back in the day. They punted a lot in real life. Now, obviously, we're going to have games that are still a little higher scoring because we don't want it too boring with too many deep punts. Long story short, they get into no man's land, they pin them, right? And here we go. Pottsville starts out at a minus on the chart now, right? So here we go. It's going to be, and I believe, let me double check the rules because Dell changed the rules since the last time you might argue this is my first ever playing this version. And I cannot remember if where's my fill position rules? Okay, so fill position adds to the dice margin. Double check. I was making sure it didn't make a defensive edge because you could look at -1 as, hey, the defense now is in charge. If it's a +1, the offense has the edge. So I wanted to make sure. It's actually dice margin, right? So Pottsville rolls. I got to roll did I roll these? Yeah, I need to roll them. Let's roll. And I have to modify it -1. I don't think I rolled those, but let's roll this. It's going to be +1, -1 fill position is going to be even. So they get out far enough to punt the ball away. Let's put it that way. And here we go. Final drive of the third quarter. New York, by the way, that's going to give them normal fill position because they don't get a bonus just because they started deep. And it's going to be +1 for them. +1 is no man's land 2. All right, no man's land. Again, no man's land 2. I don't think there's a rating that affects this. 2. Punt, opponent normal. So it's just a normal punt. And it'll be the start of the next quarter. Pottsville will have normal fill position. Okay, Pottsville's winning this game 3-0. New York has been stymied so far. It's going to be +3 for Pottsville. It's going to be field goal range 6. That's going to be good, folks. 6. So they're going to get a field goal. It's 16-0. The New York team in deep trouble. Here we go. They're going to get +3. Maybe New York's going to turn it around. Field goal range 4. There's 0. Field goal range 4 on a 0 is made. All right, so they break. New York breaks the shutout at least. Pottsville goes to work after the kickoff. 0 field position. And we're going to get +3. +3 is field goal range. 5 is good. So another field goal for Pottsville. New York can't get a break. Pottsville just countered that field goal. And it's going to be -5. We got a hairy situation now for sure. -5 is a turnover. Let's go to the turnover charts. Okay, T.O. says resolve turnover table immediately with a fast drive. 6. Right? Turnover table. Remember on the turnover table, wait a second. Fast die. Those are punts. Sorry. Danger. But we got to do our, I think we use our modifiers for this, don't we? Turnover table. Okay. So our turnovers, our ball security for New York's +2, takeaways 0. So +2 on this, right? So 6 is going to be avoided. Avoided a turnover, they end up punting. Okay, so punt. I'm assuming we add that +2 would probably be here. No, because that's a turnover. Obviously, it would be better to not turn it over. So we'll have to double check with Dell if I'm adding. Cap both -2 +2, higher trouble and higher danger, or worse for the offense. Right? So our +2, though, ball security, New York's a +2. So does that mean we go backward? Or should I see this as bad? That's bad. Pottsville, so that would be a, yeah, so I got to ask Dell. I'm not certain what that means. Either way, right now I'm going to stick with the roll. 6, avoided punt. Avoided the turnover. It's a punt because I think that +2 is meant to be good. Let me double check. Yeah, because here, I mean, if it says -2 to +2, higher danger would be worse. So we're here. We have a +2, so we'd be at danger 2 because there's 0. and I rolled a 5-6. I rolled a 5 punt. Yeah, so we avoid the punt. So I did it right. I just got to think it through, make sure I don't make any mistakes here. Pottsville. So I just got to remember a plus is going to be a bonus on the charts, and I rolled a 6. You don't add it to this die. You add it. You move it. You're going to slide, right? All right, Pottsville. Field position 0. They force a punt. Almost got a turnover on that drive. And we're back to our scoring charts. And no bonus for Pottsville after that. And it's going to be a -1. They're going to punt the ball. Folks, this is it. Final drive of the game. New York can't win, but can they have pride in front of their visiting fans and score a late touchdown to make it at least look better for the newspapers? It's going to be +3. +3 is a field goal range. And then I roll a 1 on a 0. I don't think they're going to make that. No, they're going to line up late. And they're going to miss a field goal, embarrassing themselves, trying to just get points. Okay, so we got a New York missed a field goal to start. No man's land, nobody scored in the third. And then we exchange field goals. So Pottsville field goal, Pottsville field goal. So 6 more for Pottsville. And New York finally got on the board. And then it was negated instantly by Pottsville's next drive. Folks, 3-19. New York would be 0-1. Pottsville would be 1-0. Today is 7/21/26. This is our debut of Gridiron Dice and Drives tutorial. So I didn't do the advanced stuff. I just did what he recommended you do to learn the game. Okay, so we had a couple of questions there. We rectified it. You don't shift this way, right? That once the edge is set, it never changes, right? That's a simple rule. Of course, I questioned that to have an excuse to look up, right? Okay, so you're going to want to modify up or down the chart with any field position bonuses, but you never shift this, okay? All right, next up, the other question that came up was our danger, our ratings. So our ratings, a plus value is always good. So you never see a plus value is bad. So plus means good, negative means poor. Their security was +1, their takeaway 0, no modifier. So we had a +1 on that turnover check. So that means with a +2 with the turnover check, we're actually improving the charts twice. I rolled a 6, we avoided turnover, and we punted the ball normally, right? A disaster, of course, could lead to them getting a touchdown, or it could lead them getting a bonus in field position. We saw no man's land. So for one, there'll be questions. For instance, the old era chart has no man's land, right? Where's that? The old scoring era chart has no man's land on it. Modern era, for those who want to, after you progress and play, you want to progress to the modern era, which is going to be a little more scoring. There is no man's land. So the big difference between the two charts is scoring, and this adds no man's land to it. This does not have no man's land, right? Okay. So that'll give you an idea. And then, of course, he walks you through adding all the advanced rules, like kickoffs. Kickoffs, of course, introduce field position changes, more detailed, but they also, it's the only way to introduce injuries to the game. So the only way injuries can occur in the game is if you're using kickoffs. So kickoffs affect field position. They also affect whether a team gets injured. So kickoffs add injuries to the game, right? And then there's weather effects, there's home team trait effects. We didn't use trait effects or anything for this. Those are advanced features. So then he walks you through sequence of play, and then he walks you through kicking, kick returns. He walks you through weather and injuries, and then he walks you through the founding traits. These are the traits. These are the founding teams and their traits. And then you got your founding league and all their stats here, so you can start playing games without having to invent teams out of the gate. He's even got them scheduled for the first season, so you can start playing immediately if you want to. There are standings and championships. And then, of course, he adds what's called Standard Dynasty. Remember at the beginning, what level do you want to play? Do you want to play just a game? Do you want to just play a season? Do you want to play Dynasty? Now we're at Dynasty and what you need to add to the game for Dynasty. Order of gates, off-season order and gates, money. So now we add the economic module. And then we're going to add franchise finances rules and modules, and we're going to add the staff review for coaching. And then we're going to have our coach quality, staff economy, and coach identity. So coaches will have a naming, you can name them, etc., and they have an identity. And then we have our club elimination and replacement. This is if a club runs out of money or goes bankrupt, and how do we get new clubs in. And then we have the league itself. Here's all the logos for the league that comes in the game. Heavy Dynasty Club Health. So Club Health stuff that's going to deal with injury effects, economy, and scheduling. So scheduling is one of the rules I demanded. I really believe the game had to have, because back in the old days, teams did not, couldn't just, there was no structured league schedule that made teams have a balanced home and away schedule. And there were some teams that traveled well because they got tickets up for other teams, and there are teams that could not get people to come to their house. So there's a scheduling rule that's added, right? And what you do is to set the week schedules, teams have to make a roll. They get to try to invite somebody to their house and schedule them, and they get to make a roll to see if they can do it. And if they can't, well, then they can't do anything except wait now to be invited, or they can accept an automatic invitation. So this would also work great if you were doing collegiate football. So if you wanted to think about early pro football, leagues didn't have structures, right? The haves and the have-nots kind of controlled the league. You can look at it that way, but you could also look at this as collegiate teams, smaller clubs like Harvard trying to get, today, Alabama to come to their house, right? Obviously, Harvard doesn't want them to come to their house. Harvard wants to go to Alabama because they're going to get a lot more money. So Harvard wants to play in Alabama. They know they're going to get killed 63-0, but Alabama pays them a fat check because that's a packed stadium, right? But you can kind of see that as, in a way, a reverse effect, right, of trying to get teams to come to Duluth, right? New York, big stadium, lots of money. New York draws crowds. They don't, and Duluth, who wants to go to Duluth, right? So Duluth could try to invite New York, but they're going to have to make their role. So we got a scheduling feature, which is fun. We got the big draw quick procedure. We got the house variants, expanded leagues, newspaper mode, and Hall of Fame. So Dell, in this concept that Dell came up with, he said he was inspired thinking back to watching me play, the Patriot Football League for all those years, and how I would kind of, as the commissioner, I would run the league fairly for all the teams and fairly for the owners, and that I would do a little narrative of this league as I went, or I would do a little narrative of the game, whatever. But it made him think that this could be in a way prompted in a rule book. Hey, think about the newspaper article for this, the league or for the games. So he's kind of got a random newspaper headline thing, which is pretty cool. Then we got random club generation. So again, when you're ready to make your own leagues, or you're ready to expand the league, he's got random club creation, right? And you notice how Dell does this, the stuff he wants you to know for sure to understand how to play the games early, and it's often, and it's first. But then we start getting to this other stuff. Now, there's going to be people like me that would immediately go to random club generation and start making my own league. That's just me. First of all, I love creating stuff, and I like to create and put my own identity on something. So I would be the guy to flip to page 37, skip all this other stuff, and I'd start making my own league. That's me. Same with role-playing games. I skip everything, go right to character creation. Even if I know I'm going to be GMing a game, I want to create character and see how that game looks to the players, how it works. Anyway, the point is, don't fret. You don't have to play this. You don't even have to pretend it's the 1920s. You can make this any, whatever thing you want. Here it is. And then he's got the random identities, flaws, etc. Remember, this teams have ratings, traits, etc., right? And then we have coaches, secondary ratings that need to be created when you create teams. And then the final club checklist you're going to go through and make sure everything's done. All right, now the last part of the book, this is the most important part. When you know the rules, all the charts you need to just play the game are right here. So you don't need to stay in the middle of the book and flip back and forth. You can put a page mark here or tear these out. You can literally just tear these out and laminate them. Some of them you don't need. They're just reminders, quick reference reminders. the ones you're going to be playing with, early scoring matrix and modern matrix. This you could tear it out and laminate it. You got your quick reference and kicking weather. You could tear this out and laminate it. You're going to be using it, right? But the quick reference ratings guide, things like this, you're not going to have to tear out or laminate, and you really don't need to. What you will need is the poor drive chart, the productive drive chart, the field goal drives, all that stuff, no man's land. Those are the things you're going to want to have at your fingertips. But every single chart that is in this book is also landscape in the back for easy reference. And then he's got the play-by-play drive logs, right? So what I just did here in a notebook paper on the fly for today's game, he's actually got in the book your drive number, your offense, your field position, the dice roll, the road we looked up, and the result. So the goal here is to track the game so you could look back and see, wow, we had a lot of punts, but man, we rolled a lot of threes and a lot of fives and sixes, but they just happened to be. And you can look at the row to make sure you did it right. It was looking at what edge, what's the edge. I was looking at the even edge row, and then what happened. So he's got that, all 24 drives, right? Okay, what else? And then he's got his pregame drive edge. So home was even, away was even. So you won't, again, you want to write that down before you start games so you don't forget to reference the right row, or column, right column. And then let's see what else we got. We got the play sheet, league official scheduling sheet. This is for scheduling. And then the season ledger for wins, losses, points for, points against, road wins, health, cash, notes. And then we've got our club ledger staff notes. This is for your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coach, head coach. Pretty sweet. A random club worksheet. This is to create a club. Commissioner's notes. And then your famous games, league memories, commissioner stuff right there. So again, Dell said he had been inspired by all those years of watching me be a commissioner of our Patriot Football League. So he draws a lot of that. The idea is you're the commissioner, you're the historian. In a way, you're the commissioner, the witness, the journalist, and the historian of the league. All right, you're not necessarily playing your team. However, you could too. There's no reason you can't be an owner in your league. But think about this as your first, the witness, second, the log, the journalist, third, the historian of your Gridiron Football League. And there you have it, folks. That is the debut of this book. I got to fix this. I misspelled Dell's name. So, son of a gun. So, I will be fixing this today on the cover. I got Dell Bram, which is my name with a B instead of G. So instead of Dell Branham, it's a mixture. It's a bastardized mixture of Dell's name and my name, Bram. So that's kind of funny. We could have been Bram Games, right? Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will be back to do the tutorial of Racing Time from the 2026 edition. I actually had an email yesterday asking some questions about the 2025 free edition. And I still have 3 tutorials left to do in the final book. That is the rally game, which is very, very easy. That has never changed. There's been one change on the final 2 charts, but again, it doesn't affect play for the most part. And then, of course, soccer, which has had one change on the charts, and some a rule, not added, but just a rule clarification for soccer. And then there's been a rally rule clarification. So I'll be doing both those games. And then, of course, I'll be doing auto racing, which is my most advanced game, auto racing. So I'll be doing that. So stay tuned. Anyway, this was Gridiron's debut on 7/21/26. Dell did a brilliant job. I think it's his best put together book, and not only in organization and thoroughness, and covering every possible thing you could imagine, and then making sure those things are in the book as far as going to them for injuries and weather and traits. It's outstanding. Random club generation, being the historian / journalist of your league, as well as commissioner. So you kind of have your commissioner hat to run the games in the league. Then you have your journalist hat in thinking about how you want to talk about or understand how the league's going, and then the historian, the guy's keeping all the records. So pretty sweet. And I love the art. My God, Dell just is magic with that art. And then my cover, my art cover, pretty dang good for this era. Again, you're going to see higher scoring games than they had in the 1920s. But again, this is meant to be an homage to the 20s. We didn't want it to simulate the 20s because let's face it, folks, 1920s, 30s, early 40s, it can be some pretty boring football. Lots of punts, lots and lots and lots of punts. Teams were punting on first and second down back in the day. We didn't want a game that was about 9-0, 3-0, 6-0, 7-0, 7-7. We didn't want games like that. We wanted it to still be fun and have plenty of action to write about. All right, thank you for watching. Bye bye.